What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. Today we're going to continue our Sundered Doctrine God Roll Guide with the Unvoiced. This is a void pinpoint slug frame shotgun that we can get from the dungeon there. Fires a single round slug, so it has a very good output for damage as well as clearing out adds, and in the Crucible does have some pretty disgusting range, so we will cover a couple different god rolls for you guys, both PvE, PvP. But first we're going to start out with our origin trait, which is that Subjugation. So changes its damage output based on the targets, so when we are shooting those weak targets, shots will explode. When we are doing damage to stronger targets, targets become exhausted, so that means that those exhausted targets will do less damage to us. And then if we are doing damage to guardians, the flinch on the weapon resistance is increased, so it doesn't happen too much in a shotgun. I feel it every so often if I'm getting like lasered by a sidearm or something as I'm pushing somebody, might flinch off of their head, especially with something like a pinpoint where you are not going just for the body shot, you're going more for headshots with this thing. But it does feel very good in both, again, the Crucible and the PvE realms, so let's get into it. So starting us off PvE wise, I'm going to go with small bore just because I like having a little extra range on this bad boy. We're at about 90 range, 60 in stability, 60 in reload, so feels the best all around in general for this, I guess, in my opinion, being able to switch on and off of it, etc. I really think that there's probably 3 different magazine choices for you. With Assault Mag, we got ourselves Appended Mag and Tactical Mag. Assault Mag is going to give us +5 in rounds per minute, so it's going to shoot a little bit faster with that +15 in stability, so we'll be at about 75 for stability if you pick this up. Then we got ourselves Appended Mag. We got ourselves only +1 in the magazine, so goes up from 6 to 7 with that bad boy. And then same thing down here, Tactical Mag, +1 to magazine, so up to 6 to 7. And then we're going to have that reload and stability, which does give us what I talked about earlier with about 60 in each of those categories for stability and reload. This is what I personally would pick, is the Tactical Mag, but I know some people like those other options, so threw them out here for y'all. Third column, I wasn't really sure where to go with my options. There's a lot of different choices in here. I felt like Envious Arsenal probably wasn't the best because of like damage output, and like most of the time you're using these to like hot swap or something like that, so Envious Arsenal doesn't really take a hold in my personal opinion. So my 3 I went with are Destabilizing Rounds, 4th times the Charm, and Redirection actually. So Destabilizing Rounds, defeating a target creates a void burst, hitting other targets makes them volatile, grants us volatile rounds for a short period of time. 4th times the Charm, rapidly landing those precision hits will return 2 to the magazine, so this is probably what I would use for the damage side of things, is 4th times the Charm. But again, I still like Destabilizing Rounds because of one of the options that we have specifically in our 4th column, with our last option being that Redirection, which definitely feels better after its changes. But Redirection, damaging rank and file enemies, so those red bar enemies, smaller enemies, give us damage increase against powerful ones, so pretty nice that we can get that to stack up pretty high against those elites, high ranked targets. So champions, mini bosses, those orange bars bosses, stuff like that, going to be able to do a little bit more damage. But like I said, I still think 4th times the Charm overall for like damage output, but destabilizing is very good in my personal opinion as well. That's what I would like to have, like a double roll with both of those options. 4th column right here, we got ourselves Demoralized as our first option, with I think I'm gonna go with Vorpal Weapon and Elemental Honing on this. So Demoralizing, precision final blows cause nearby targets to become weakened. That's why I do really like the Destabilizing with Demoralizing, because we can get volatility and weakening going on just by using this weapon, kind of like I said with the unloved hand cannon, where we can get threadlings and sever to go on without having to use something in our subclass aspects, you know, fragments, stuff like that. Definitely is a very good weapon in my personal opinion. So if you can get a destabilized, demoralized weapon, that is definitely a good roll in my personal opinion. I won't lie, I changed my mind midway through recording, so instead of Vorpal, I would go with Frenzy, because they're both giving us 15% damage increase, but Vorpal is specific to those higher tier enemies. Frenzy can be more universal as long as you are in battle. Plus, we get 100 reload and 100 handling on this when we do have it proc after being in combat for 12 seconds. So Frenzy, a very good choice as well. I definitely think that, I don't know actually, for damage output, probably Frenzy or Elemental Honing will be your best, but my favorite role so far has been that demoralizing, destabilizing rounds. Then last but not least, like I said, with that Elemental Honing, we got ourselves dealing unique damage, grants us weapon bonus stacking damage, so we're gonna have a stacking up to 35% damage increase on this bad boy. So just like I said, probably your best option for overall damage output would be 4th times the charm with Elemental Honing. That's what I would go with for damage, and then like add clear or just a universal shotgun to be used inside of content would be that demoralizing, destabilizing rounds, because we can get all of that beautiful void verbiage going on without having to use a void subclass even. So pretty solid. I like this thing. I would give it probably a 4.4, maybe a 4.5 out of 5 for the PvE realm. Very solid, like I said, for all aspects, add clear as well as damage. Now, I am a big nerd for these pinpoint slug shotguns inside of the PvP realm, so we got ourselves a small bore with that +7 to range, +7 to stability with a range masterwork as well. We're going to have 100 range on this bad boy with about 75 in handling, which is pretty disgusting, as well as 53 in that stability. In our magazine, go with that accurized rounds to give us +10 to that range. Like I said, we're stacking this out to 100, so we can absolutely map those guardians. Third column, we got 2 different options with Lone Wolf and Killing Wind. Lone Wolf right here is my #1 choice. Gives us that aim assist, aim down sight speed, airborne effectiveness, as well if we are in not around those fellow guardians like on our team, it's gonna be even better. So definitely like Lone Wolf as my favorite. Killing Wind is my second choice though. Final blows grant us increased mobility, weapon range, and handling. Don't really need that weapon range, but having +40 to handling will give us 100 in handling on this bad boy, as well as 100 range, so not too shabby. But I definitely think this would be my second choice over anything, so we're gonna go with Lone Wolf as #1, Killing Wind is #2 in that third column. Fourth column, we got ourselves 2 options. Closing time is definitely the best. We're getting range, accuracy, handling as the magazine gets lower, and we're basically always at that lower tier inside of the Crucible, so we're gonna get 30 to 50 handling on that bad boy. So it is pretty nice, and that accuracy becomes a little bit better, so you are picking off heads with this bad boy. And our other option is Frenzy, so being in combat for that 12 seconds is gonna give us 15% damage, 100 in handling, and 100 in reload, so also very, very good at the Crucible. Having that handling at 100 is pretty solid, so definitely a very good weapon for the pinpoint slug shotgun for both PvE, PvP. PvP wise, I would probably give this thing roughly a 4.5, maybe a 4.6, so this is also very similar to how it was in the PvE realm. Very good options, very good rolls in my personal opinion, so definitely get to farming this bad boy in the Sundered Doctrine. Like I said in my last video, if you do happen to complete that Catalyst quest for our exotic from the dungeon, the Finality Augment, whatever it's called, that linear fusion AC 130 gun that we got, the Worm quest, you are actually able to focus weapons at the end of those Sundered Doctrine clears, so definitely a good thing to have, and then we can get ourselves the god rolls maybe a little bit easier. But again, appreciate all you guys for coming back to the channel. Don't be afraid to like, subscribe, hit the bell if you haven't, so you guys get the notifications. Don't miss out on anything that we're talking about here. God rolls, builds, stuff like that. We got a new episode coming out in like a day, so be ready for that. I appreciate all you guys. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.